To someone recently on Lake Michigan.
This is literally, you could raise it and sail it away.
This is Lake Michigan, following along with a team of salvagers and divers.
The state of Michigan, seen from above, is a map of lakes, forests, and peninsulas, a wilderness seemingly eternal, carved by glaciers and softened by the slow passage of time. Hundreds of miles of freshwater coastline shimmer along the edges, and islands, large and small, cast shadows on the blue. Yet for all its open beauty, Michigan keeps its oldest secrets hidden well below the obvious. The land is a palimpsest, a place where layers of ancient story are written one over the other, and the signs of human and geologic drama lie quiet beneath earth and water. For decades, the scientific imagination skirted the edges of Michigan's mysteries. Researchers traced faint patterns in lost forests, probed the bottomlands of Lake Huron, and measured the slow twilight of native fish in Lakes Michigan and Huron. Clues mounted, broken rows of earth, carved stones in unlikely places, enigmatic patterns glimpsed only by those who knew where to look. Yet the true depth of Michigan's story, the revelations awaiting beneath its waters, soils, and ancient fields, remained elusive, waiting for a moment when the world would listen and be astonished. This June, that moment arrived. Teams of scientists, working with new eyes and newer technology, made discoveries beneath Michigan that challenged conventional wisdom and widened the boundaries of what we believed possible. Patterns in the land, unearthed histories, clues under the Great Lakes. Each piece, remarkable both for its unexpectedness and for what it demands, we now reconsider. What did the researchers encounter in Michigan's earth and under its blue waters that changed the conversation? What secrets had waited, hidden just out of sight, for scientists willing to see with fresh clarity, to decipher the signs left by peoples and processes long past? Behind every remnant and every clue, a single, urgent question thrums. What, precisely, is Michigan hiding, and why does it matter now more than ever? The land of ghost rows, ancient agricultural marvels. To understand the enormity of what Michigan's researchers unveiled, we must look first toward land, toward fields where the visible world and the forgotten almost merge. In the state's heartlands, amid forests and gentle slopes, lie hundreds of acres marked by a silent and symmetrical design. Here, parallel rows, subtle rises, and dips in the earth march in mute formation across meadows and wooded patches. At first glance, they seem accidental, perhaps relics of old farming or the chance result of erosion and time. Yet step softly among them, and their deliberateness becomes clear. The rows run straight and true, vanishing only where the forest has claimed them back again. For generations, these features went largely ignored, mistaken for the last breath of 19th century plows or ancient animal tracks. Only in recent decades did archaeologists and local historians realize the deeper story. These parallel embankments are the bones of an agricultural system whose roots reach further back than almost any modern memory. It was not settlers, but Native Americans who etched these patterns, using hand tools, wooden implements, and a profound knowledge of soil and season to shape the plantable land. What emerges from the earth is a breathtaking order, a planned network for growing and sustaining life. The parallel ridges collect moisture after rain, guard seeds from drought, and carry water down their gentle slopes. Between them, the fertile valleys, protected from erosion, served as beds for crops. Generations, perhaps centuries, of hands worked this land, feeding communities and anchoring traditions now all but erased. What does it mean to uncover, acre after acre, these remains, fields older than many cities, technology buried so long in plain sight. The discovery in Michigan is not merely a quaint note on ancient gardening, but rather evidence of a lost sophistication, a systematic world that shaped and survived on the land long before plows and tractors. The very ground pulses with the echo of vanished lives, and with the questions their ingenuity now demands. What foods grew here? Indigenous peoples in the Great Lakes region cultivated beans, squash, and corn among other plants. Did these ancient ridges support similarly diverse crops? Or perhaps something now lost? These ancient agricultural remains, preserved by the landscape, are testaments to adaptation and stewardship. The cycles of water and sun were managed without any machinery, relying instead on careful observation and accumulated wisdom passed down over generations. Excavations reveal that these rows and ridges stretch farther than once thought, sometimes crossing what are now property lines, sometimes submerged by marsh or forest. Their endurance is a reminder not only of ingenuity, but also of the enduring relationship between people and land, a relationship that has often been overlooked or underestimated. The ghost rows are a lesson in humility. Sometimes the greatest innovations can live almost unseen, hidden in plain sight, until new eyes arrive to appreciate their significance. As scientists and historians continue to map and study these fields, Michigan's own deep history, often overshadowed by more famous archaeological wonders elsewhere, comes into sharper focus, a layered story of care, collaboration, and transformation. Ghosts of the Deep, the Lake Huron, stone, carvings. Michigan's mysteries do not end at the shoreline. Instead, they deepen. The land verging into water, the pass sinking beneath blue. South of Alpena, Lake Huron stretches outward, a liquid bowl, empty at the surface, but layered with time beneath. Here, inspired by recent archaeological research, teams have explored ancient underwater features that once stood on dry land before glacial meltwaters transformed the area. In June 2025, heightened interest in these submerged landscapes brought renewed attention to remarkable discoveries beneath Lake Huron's surface. Underwater, some 40 feet down, divers and sonar teams mapped enigmatic stone structures on the lake bed. Among them, researchers documented formations that some scientists believe may include deliberate carvings or arrangements related to megafauna. Creatures like the now extinct mastodon that once roamed these ancient hunting grounds. Though the most sensational claims, such as an unmistakable mastodon carving, are still subject to scholarly debate and have yet to be universally confirmed, there is no doubt that this section of Lake Huron preserves evidence of a world in transition. The area once formed a corridor between regions, dry land used by humans and animals during the last ice age. Early peoples, crossing what is now a submerged ridge, left behind tools, stone alignments, and possibly symbolic markings, evidence of hunting strategies and life alongside Pleistocene giants. What rests beneath the water, then, is not just a window into extinct animals, but into the lives of those who followed them across this shifting landscape. The stones mapped on the lake bed, whether arranged by human hands or natural processes, prompt us to consider the deep creativity and resourcefulness of those communities. They witnessed the great changes of climate and environment firsthand. They adapted, recorded, and remembered in ways that still leave traces for us to find. For the Alpena community and beyond, these underwater discoveries spark imagination, connecting the present shoreline to a time when Michigan's territory extended far into what is now deep water. The collaboration between scientists, local historians, and new technologies brings this story closer to public awareness, allowing us to reflect on the ancient connections between people, landscape, and the animals that once shaped both. The ongoing research beneath Lake Huron is a testament to investigation and reinterpretation. As more is uncovered about the submerged hunting grounds and their enigmatic stone features, every find becomes another chapter in the long story of adaptation, of survival on the shifting margins of ice and continent. The lake's hidden corridors urge us to remember that history is not sealed but layered, and that the line between known and unknown remains tantalizingly thin. The hidden networks, Michigan's aquatic crisis, and the web of life. Not all of Michigan's secrets come as joyous revelation. Sometimes, what is found beneath the surface is sobering, a herald of unwelcome change, a testimony to the fragility of even the grandest water bodies. In the depths of Lakes Michigan and Huron today, scientists have documented a slow and relentless unraveling of an ecosystem, a process both invisible and catastrophic, bringing native fish populations to the brink of collapse. For centuries, these lakes teemed with native fish: sturgeon, perch, whitefish, species as old as the lakes themselves. But in recent decades, the decline has sharpened. Researchers working from research vessels and deep water probes measure not abundance, but absence. The cause is insidious. Invasive mussels, introduced by accident and spread without resistance, have blanketed the lake beds. They filter water so efficiently that they outcompete native dwellers, strip the ecosystem of essential food, and rob fish populations of their chance to recover. Every year, the outlook grows more grim. Where nets once pulled in silvered schools, now they rise mostly empty. What was once taken for granted, a living lake, is now, in places, a desert of shells and sand, the native fish struggling to survive. The lake's slow transformation is visible underwater. Once rich bottom habitats are now covered with dense mats of invasive species, choking out native flora and fauna alike. The crisis calls for urgent attention. While scientists and policymakers develop strategies to restore balance and protect remaining fish stocks, they also confront hard questions about the boundaries of security, of knowing, of belonging somewhere stable. Even as Michigan's hidden wonders come to light, the fragility of what lies beneath the surface, be it ecological or cultural, serves as a warning. Every act of discovery is balanced by the risk of loss. A rift in the quiet, the red plant, the border, and the shadow of intrigue. Some surprises, when they breach the surface of day-to-day order, carry the whiff not just of history, but of uncertainty, of ambition, and the challenges of managing international boundaries in an interconnected world. In July 2024, a tense scene played out at Detroit's airport, an encounter as startling as any carved stone or ancient earthwork, and no less illuminating in its implications for Michigan and beyond. A Chinese scientist, Zunyong Liu, was stopped and turned away at the gates of entry. The reason? Discovery of red plant material in his luggage, a type not immediately identified and deemed potentially hazardous or regulated. The incident set off a federal investigation and drew national attention, highlighting the complex risks surrounding the movement of unexplained biological material across borders. In the weeks that followed, the story's outlines grew clearer. Two Chinese scientists, reportedly tied to research work in the United States, were accused of shipping or smuggling biological materials into the country without permits. Federal charges were filed, and the materials seized for further testing and containment. While speculation and concern swirled, fear about toxic pathogens or intentional wrongdoing, public details remained limited. What is confirmed is that these cases underscored increasing concerns about unauthorized movement of biological samples and the importance of maintaining regulatory oversight of genetic resources. Michigan, so often thought of as a region removed from international drama, found itself part of a story at the intersection of science, security, and law. If what lies beneath the state's earth and waters can surprise the world, what then of substances and research materials traveling in hand luggage or packages? The border becomes a front line not just for travel, but for vigilance over the integrity of science and safety. Just as archaeologists and ecologists read the land and lakes for memory and loss, security agencies must monitor for hidden threats in airports and laboratories. The ancient rows, the submerged formations, the fate of the lakes, all coincide with a modern awareness that discovery and risk are deeply entwined. While the worst fears raised by such incidents are often not realized, these moments force ongoing examination of how research advances coexist with security. Every new finding, whether an agricultural relic or a flagged import, is a reminder of the interconnected and sometimes fraught nature of a modern, globalized world. The ancient web, reimagined, virtual worlds, and the Alpina experiment discovery takes many shapes. Sometimes it is the act of digging, turning spade into earth, straining to read what the past left. Other times, it is about vision and access, using technology to make the invisible visible, and offering everyone, not just specialists, glimpses into Michigan's hidden past. In June 2025, just as news of new findings under Lake Huron began to circulate, another project inspired the scientific and local community along Michigan's northeastern shore. The ancient hunting grounds deep beneath Lake Huron, once a land bridge between fading glaciers and expanding forests, had long been the realm of divers and remote sensors. Now, however, researchers sought to bring these vanished places to life for a wider public. This was accomplished not by recreating the landscape, but through immersive virtual reality, meticulously reconstructed from scans, sonar data, and archaeological surveys. In Alpina and neighboring communities, residents could now, virtually, walk the old corridors, trace ancient shorelines, and imagine the world when mastodons and humans shared this stage. The impact was profound. The virtual experience was more than just a technical achievement. It was a bridge to a world otherwise lost beneath the lake. For the community, the project transformed abstract history into tangible experience. Students traced the footsteps of ancient hunters. Elders found themselves transported to the landscapes described in legend and memory. For researchers, the technology deepened understanding of how landforms and human use were intertwined and offered new vistas for study and interpretation. This marriage of discovery and technology is another kind of revelation, not only through soil or fossils, but in digitally recreating what cannot be restored. Yet even this achievement is bittersweet. While we can simulate vanished worlds, not all that is lost can be retrieved. Species decimated by invasive threats, traditions destroyed or forgotten, landscapes drowned forever. Contours of conflict, where science, security, and history collide. At the heart of Michigan's recent discoveries beats a paradox. The closer we come to recovering lost knowledge, the more acutely we sense the fragility of the systems, natural and societal, that sustain us. For in every page turned, every formation mapped, every biological remnant intercepted at an airport, science collides not only with wonder, but with underlying uncertainty. This was never clearer than in the wake of events in June 2025. As researchers mapped out ancient earthworks and recreated lost landscapes, federal authorities dealt with the implications of intercepted biological materials. The two scientists charged in connection with unauthorized imports saw their story move from laboratories to courtrooms, emblematic of the anxiety surrounding global movement of genetic and potentially hazardous materials. What are our obligations to the worlds we rediscover? When does exploration risk crossing into endangerment? And how much caution is enough when the path from natural wonder to fragile system, from research breakthrough to regulatory breach, is so often invisible until it is crossed? The legacy of Michigan's 2025 revelations is double-edged. Each story brought to light, be it remnants of ancient earthworks, formations on the lakebed, or red plant matter at the border, demands not just recognition, but reflection. The boundaries that feel secure, of knowledge, of ecology, of safety, are always thinner than we imagine. Only through balance, vigilance, and ongoing questioning does the tapestry of Michigan's past and present remain whole. In the wake of shock, Michigan's living tapestry. The impact of June 2025 will resonate not because it supplies final answers, but because it reopens the questions that define Michigan's complexity. Every field of ancient rows, every pattern on the lakebed, every investigation of cross-border biological materials takes on new weight and urgency. The lessons are as much about vigilance and humility as about pride and wonder, reminders that the world's mysteries are never completely solved. In Alpena, school children now explore vanished hunting grounds in virtual spaces. Their imaginations sparked anew. In labs and policy rooms, the lessons of intercepted materials inform new protocols, ensuring biological security in an era of global exchange. Fishermen and ecologists work together on the shores, watching for signs of resilience in battered lakes. All are reminders that Michigan's definitive gifts are not just its marvels, but the responsibilities they awaken. Which stories matter enough to restore, to cherish, to protect? How far is it wise to probe, to transport, to reveal? At what point does vigilance become paranoia? And what truths are uncovered when the surface yields more than expected? If the world is watching Michigan now, it is not to witness the closing of a mystery, but the unfolding drama of discovery, a state alive with both marvel and uncertainty. What untold stories might linger under your own feet, in your local waters, or at the boundaries you cross? Does every surface conceal more than it shows? And, in our era of constant investigation, is it still possible to be truly shocked? Thank you for joining us as we follow the next chapter in Michigan's evolving story. Which discovery inspired you most? Do you think the world's greatest surprises lie behind or ahead of us? And how should we balance fascination and caution in places where every field, every stone, every wave still whispers of the unknown? Remember, every question addressed to the earth, every curiosity about the unseen is an act of courage. Keep asking, keep exploring, and never let the surface convince you it is the whole story. For beneath it, the world is always waiting to astonish us anew.